So now it's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker, the president of the EFRE, Professor Hassan Maghraby, Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology in Cairo University, who will present the result of a pilot study performed by the EFRE, and that resulted in another RCT that we're going to hear about. Please, Dr. Hassan.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction, and it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be in Cairo University, but I'm a professor of Alexandria University. Okay. So gonadotropins and pools are of several types: urinary, recombinant, and biosimilar. All types of gonadotropin contain, in general, FSH, LH, and HCG in different proportions. And the FSH activity in gonadotropins are of two types: acidic FSH, in which the carbohydrate moieties are attached to sialic acid, and basic FSH, in which the carbohydrate moieties are attached to sulfonic acid. The acidic FSH has a long half-life and lower E2 concentration and low receptor affinity, whereas the basic form has a low sialic acid content and high receptor affinity, and it has short life. The acidic isoform is present in urinary HMGs, whereas the acidic isoform is present in the recombinant FSH. And the LH activity in the urinary products are mainly now HCG. Before it was LH in Minogon, for example, and in Marional, and now in Minopure and in Mariofert, they have high HCG content as compared to LH content.
دكتور حسن سلايد شو بليز.
نعم.
ممكن ندوس السلايد شو الكاس المقلوب.
ده كل ده ما بانش؟ خلاص كده؟
تمام.
Okay. So FSH activity are either of two types: acidic FSH, which contains sialic acid on the carbohydrate moieties, and this has a long half-life and receptor affinity is low. The basic FSH, which is present in REC FSH and in biosimilar, has high receptor affinity and the half-life is short. LH activity is comprised of two hormones, LH and FSH. Now, the highly purified HMG contain mainly HCG. And HCG has a lot of carbohydrates attached to the molecule, and this is why it has a long half-life and it can accumulate in the circulation. And this is important in managing the protocols which contain highly purified HMG. The HCG content of urinary products increases from HMG clockwise up to the last type of highly purified HMG. So the concentration of HCG here is less than 2 units, and here it is 6 units, and in the last highly purified HMG, it's about 8 units per ampule. And this, of course, can accumulate if you give high doses of HCG. The FSH in the REC is the basic FSH and the biosimilar, and in highly purified FSH, it is also acidic FSH. The current techniques of stimulations are either using a single agent all through from the beginning of the cycle to the end of the cycle, and this is most of the protocols, or using combined agents FSH and HMG in different ratios, or sequential FSH followed by HMG. Most of the studies regarding the highly purified HMG indicated that it is non-inferior to REC FSH, and sometimes it results in lower terminal progesterone, and particularly with the long agonist. The Megaset study also showed that highly purified HMG is non-inferior with the antagonist, and it has similar results also. The Megaset HR showed that it is non-inferior, but also has lower OHSS and lower possibly pregnancy loss. So highly purified HMG possibly has lower OHSS and lower pregnancy loss. Other studies also showed that highly purified HMG had similar pregnancy rate compared to REC FSH, that it resulted in lower progesterone in several studies, and that it resulted in lower OHSS, and it can be used in potential hyper responders, both in agonist and antagonist. So should we add LH activity early in a stimulation protocol or not? In this article, Police showed in 2013 that FSH followed by highly purified HMG in an GnRH antagonist protocol resulted in very promising results. But in this study, they used polypholytropin alpha, which is long-acting, but it is FSH followed by HMG. Zia et al. Also in 2019 showed that adding HMG early or LH activity in the early follicular phase is not beneficial. So LH early doesn't seem to be beneficial. The question of whether to use agonist or antagonist in normal responder, and this will come in Professor Tamer's presentation, we all know the meta-analysis of Lombard, which showed that in the general IVF population, possibly, and again say possibly, a GnRH agonist long protocol is not a bad idea. And Santi in 2017, in the same year, showed that embryos and pregnancy rate were higher if HMG was used in long agonist protocol. So our suggested protocol study was based on these findings. Number one, that long agonist is not a bad idea in normal responders in Santi and in Lombard meta-analysis in normal responders. The second thing is that FSH only in follicular phase is working, both in the study of Polisis and the study of Zia et al. And there is a well-known physiologic fact that early follicles do not have LH receptor. So there is no meaning of giving LH at this time except to act on the theca cells. And when follicles exceed 12 millimeter, they start to have LH receptors on the granulosa cells, and then we can use LH at this time. In the natural follicular phase, early in the cycle, small follicles are recruited under the effect of acidic FSH. Acidic FSH is the FSH found in urinary HMG. And then after the follicles exceed 10 to 12 millimeter in the natural cycle, the main control goes to LH, both in terms of increasing follicular size and steroidogenesis. So we wanted to compare two protocols with long agonist protocol in normal responder. The first protocol includes FSH early in the follicular phase till the follicles reach 10 to 12 millimeter, and then to switch to 150 highly purified HMG till the end of folliculogenesis at the time of the trigger. So FSH followed by highly purified HMG. This is the first arm. And the second arm is 150 FSH plus 75 highly purified HMG in the first 5 to 6 days till the follicles exceed 12 millimeter, and then again 150 highly purified HMG units till the time of the trigger. So we wanted to set a pilot, we did a pilot study to make sure that there is no harm of either protocols, and in the expected normal responders, as we said before, stimulated with agonist protocol, our question was, which is better, 225 units of highly purified FSH alone, or 75 highly purified HMG and 150 FSH, as compared, and then whether 150 highly purified HMG is adequate for maintaining folliculogenesis after 12 millimeters. So these are the 2 points we wanted to check in the pilot study to make sure that there is no harm from this before we set the RCT. So as we can see here in the arm with FSH, the number of oocytes, the mean was 12, and this was the same mean for the combined group, which had FSH and HMG. The M2 was more or less similar. Compact morula on day 4 was 5.8 and 6.4, and this allows for a transfer and a frozen cryotop, which gives a good cumulative pregnancy rate, and the expanded blastocysts after transfer on day 4 were 3 and 3 for both arms. The striking fact was that estradiol in those women with long Agnus protocol and young age and normal responder was really low in both arms. So it was 2,800 in FSH alone, and it was 3,000 in FSH and highly purified HMG arm. LH did not rise till the end of folliculogenesis. HCG did not accumulate in both protocols, and progesterone was low in both protocols. We had to transfer 17% of the cycles on day 3 in the group of FSH alone, and this did not happen in the other group. And we transferred on day 4 in 50% of the cycles and in 80% of the cycles of the 2 protocols. But we found that unexpected low response was found in 17% of cycles when we started FSH alone, and none of the cycles on the combined FSH and HMG. Unexpected hyper response was found in 10% in the FSH only group and in 10% of the FSH and HMG group, and none of these had more than moderate than mild hyperstimulation. So none of them were admitted, just hyper response defined as more than 20 oocytes collected at the time of retrieval. Terminal progesterone more than 1.5 was found in 10% in the combined group, and it was found in 5% in the FSH only group. Pregnancy rate in the FSH only group was 63%, and in the FSH, in the combined group, it was 61.5%, and these were similar results. So both protocols, despite the low number of compact morulae and low number of expanded blastocysts, resulted in a good pregnancy rate, 60%. So the RCT was registered by Professor Ahmed Gibril, and the number I think was around 500 patients, and it is multicenteric. We have more than 13 centers from all over Egypt participating in the study, and we are waiting for the results. And thank you very much.
Let me first apologize. I'm so sorry, Dr. Hassan. Professor Hassan Maghraby is professor at Alexandria University. Please forgive me.
It's an honor to be in Cairo.
Of course. So Alexandria and Cairo are one, of course.
No
I'm very sorry. Forgive me. And now it's open for questions. Please, Dr. Hassan.
Why did you go for step down after follicles were 10 to 12 millimeter? Why not individualized for each patient? Very good. This is Kamal Rajah. Very good questions, but this is the protocol of the study. And we thought that if we do 150 highly purified HMG only from size 12, we will have a mild response to lower E2. And we succeeded in doing this. So this is the answer for the question. Any other question on the chat? All the questions on the chat were regarding sharing my slides. My slides were not shared, they were shared. Another questions? how do you explain the very high pregnancy rate? It's not very high pregnancy rate. These are normal responders. And I think that implantation is good. And these are pilot study. This is a pilot study. We wait till the RCT finishes. We just started the RCT a week ago. And this can answer this, whether the pregnancy rate will continue to be high or not. Thank you very much, Professor Mona. Next speaker.